The sun had barely risen over Fort Wallace training base when a group of young cadets burst into laughter at the sight of an old man stepping onto the range. His uniform was faded, his boots scuffed, and his walk slightly uneven. The name stitched on his chest read, Harris. Who brought Grandpa to training? One of the cadets whispered, smirking as the others chuckled. The old veteran heard them but said nothing. He simply placed his worn-out cap back on his head and continued toward the observation post, where the instructor stood. His calm, quiet presence seemed out of place among the restless energy of the young trainees. To them, this was just another day of drills, another chance to show off. But for Sergeant William Harris, this place was sacred ground, a reminder of brothers lost and battles survived. The cadets had been struggling for days with the sniper qualification tests. Not a single one had hit the 800-meter target. Their commanding officer, Captain Reynolds, had called in a retired veteran to demonstrate, hoping his experience might motivate them. What Reynolds didn't expect was the wave of mockery that would ripple through the group when they saw Harris' trembling hands and silver hair. "Sir," one cadet said sarcastically, "is he here to tell us war stories or to shoot?" Reynolds' jaw tightened. "You'll watch and learn, cadet," he replied sharply. Harris said nothing. He placed his duffel bag on the bench and slowly unpacked a sniper rifle, an M2010 enhanced sniper rifle, its surface worn but spotless. Every motion he made was deliberate, graceful, and deeply familiar. One cadet whispered to another, "He probably can't even see that far." The laughter was quiet but cruel. Harris heard it. His weathered eyes lifted toward them, calm, unreadable, but with a depth that silenced one of the chuckles mid-breath. "Range is set at 1,000 meters, Captain Reynolds said. "Wind speed, 8 knots from the west. You'll get one shot, Sergeant Harris." Harris nodded, adjusting his scope with a steady hand. The cadets crowded behind him, smirking, some pulling out their phones to record. Then, Harris paused. His hand stopped on the rifle, and for a brief second, his gaze drifted into the distance, as if he saw something no one else could. A battlefield, a memory. A younger voice echoed in his mind, Private Collins, his spotter from Afghanistan. "Wind's shifting left, Sergeant. Adjust 3 clicks." That was the last thing Collins ever said before the blast hit their convoy. Harris blinked away the flashback, exhaled slowly, and focused through the scope. The entire range went silent. Even the birds seemed to hold their breath. He steadied the rifle, aligning the crosshair with the target 1,000 meters away, a barely visible speck of white against the horizon. His finger rested gently on the trigger. The world around him faded. No laughter, no whispers, just the wind and his heartbeat. Boom! The rifle cracked like thunder. A second later, the sound of metal striking echoed across the range. The center of the target was obliterated, a perfect dead center hit. No one spoke. The cadets' smirks vanished instantly. Reynolds glanced through his binoculars, his expression shifting from skepticism to pure disbelief. "Bullseye," he said softly. One of the cadets stammered, "No way, that was luck." Harris didn't respond. He simply stood up, brushed the dust from his knees, and looked the young man in the eye. "Son," he said quietly, "luck doesn't save lives. Skill does." Reynolds, impressed, asked Harris if he'd stay and train the cadets for a few days. The old veteran agreed, but he made it clear, he wasn't there to show off. He was there to teach them what discipline and respect truly meant. The next morning, training began before dawn. Harris didn't start with rifles. Instead, he made them march. Long distances, in silence. He spoke about patience, breathing, observation. "Being a sniper isn't about pulling the trigger," he said. "It's about knowing when not to." Some cadets grumbled under their breath. But as the days passed, something began to change. Harris' calm strength, his quiet stories, his unbreakable focus, they began to earn respect. He told them about the soldiers he lost, about watching his best friend fall beside him. "War doesn't care how young or strong you are," he said one evening by the fire. "It only respects those who stay calm when everyone else panics." One cadet, Miller, the same one who mocked him first, asked, "Sir, how do you stay calm when you've lost everything?" Harris looked at the boy and smiled faintly. "By remembering why you fight in the first place. Not for glory, not for medals, but for the person standing next to you." On the final day, Captain Reynolds announced a challenge, a long-distance sniper test at 1,200 meters, the hardest shot in training. One by one, the cadets took their positions. None hit the target. The wind was fierce, and the sun's glare made visibility poor. Then, Miller stepped forward. Harris had trained him personally, teaching him how to read the wind, control his breath, and steady his hands. The range went silent as Miller aimed. His breathing slowed. He remembered every word Harris said. Don't fight the wind. Dance with it. He fired. The bullet struck just outside the bullseye, so close that everyone gasped. Miller turned to Harris, grinning nervously. Almost, sir. Harris placed a hand on his shoulder. Almost means you're learning. That's all that matters. As training ended, Reynolds gathered everyone around. Before you go, he said, there's something you should know about Sergeant Harris. He handed the cadets a faded photo, Harris in his prime, standing beside a helicopter in Afghanistan, holding the same rifle. Medals gleamed on his chest. This man isn't just a sniper, Reynolds said. He's a legend. He saved an entire unit during Operation Iron Dune by taking out 3 enemy positions alone, at night, under fire. The cadets stared in shock. Harris looked away, uncomfortable with the praise. Miller stepped forward and saluted. Sir, I'm sorry for how we treated you. The other cadets followed, one by one, their faces filled with guilt and newfound respect. Harris simply nodded. Apologies aren't needed. Just remember, every old soldier you see once stood where you are now.